Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Bayonetta 2 Infinite Climax difficulty video walkthrough. This is Chapter 3, Paradiso, the Gates of Paradiso. This is, I think his name is Glamour, I believe this is in fact Glamour, and this is a boss fight very reminiscent of Prudence from the original game. So in this first sequence here, I have no real idea if you're meant to do anything other than what you're watching me do. When his tail comes on top of your character, which is a terrible sentence now I've said it, but we'll just embrace it, you want to press evade, and if the game slows a little bit but doesn't give you witch time, it generally means you've done it correctly. After he's finished doing his kind of crazy swimming gymnastics, he's then going to attack you with a ton of debris. After the debris, he's going to try and bite you, dodge the bite, and then combo him with whatever moves you want. At this moment in time, I have Chernobog on my hands, and I have, is it Alrune, I think she's called? I have the whips on my feet. The whip is an interesting weapon. It has some interesting looking attacks. You know, the animations on this game are amazing. It has some of the best animations I've seen. The frame rate runs surprisingly great throughout the entire thing. That is not to say that there aren't drops. There are of course drops a lot of the time, but for the most, it is significantly better than Bayonetta 1, and there is more happening on the screen and it looks nicer. The game itself, artistically, graphically, I think is wonderful, considering that it runs at such a high fidelity, and it plays so goddamn well. It's responsive, it's probably the best game released this year, and it is easily the best action game released this year by bar none. Because it's just, everything it does incredibly well. And the things it doesn't do well are the things its predecessor didn't do well so much. And I think that has to be commended, because sequels sometimes can be too safe. On this sequence here, if you move around the water tunnel to get away from the debris, you can dodge it pretty well. However, if you can't move away from it in time, try to dodge at the very last possible instance, because if you get lucky, you'll have invulnerability through the entire piece of geometry. However, if you do it too early, you'll regain vulnerability and your hurt box will turn back on when you're still on it, and you'll take damage. But once again, Glamour's going to attack you. You want to dodge him, and you want to punish him. He's also going to fire the icicles at you, which you can bat back with the Moon of Mahakala. At this moment in time, my second upgrade doesn't really matter, because I'm waiting to get that crazy fluffy feather thing that gives you the regeneration on your witch time, and it costs 500,000 halos, so I'm currently saving up for it in this video. The only other equipment I could have worn would be the ancient earrings, I think they're called, which allow me to, instead of using the Umbran Climax, they enable me to use the Witch Armor, which is this crazy mech that is insanely powerful and really fun to use. But I'm not going to be using that because I didn't want to use something that players might not have, even though I'm going through all the weapons that there's a chance you might not have picked up, which is kind of funny. But here's when the game definitely steps up into one of its more epic moments. We're now going to be fighting 3 of the Glamours. So his first attack is the icicles. Just push forward on the analog, flick it as many times as you can rather quickly, and you'll push all the attacks backwards. Whenever he does the swings or the bites, you want to dodge him, and you want to progress to comboing him. You have to do the one on the left, you have to do the one on the right, and then after these 2 altercations you'll get a checkpoint. This is an example of fantastic checkpointing in boss fights. The first part, when we're on the side wave, after we did that we got a checkpoint. The second part, when we were in the tunnel, after we came here we got a checkpoint. After these 2 phases, for the final phase, we also get a checkpoint. It is checkpoints at their finest, yet this game, for whatever reason, has checkpoints that are insanely lacking, and it's very sad to see, because on Bayonetta 1, aside from bizarre menus that didn't let you retry a checkpoint to save you from quitting out and loading back in, and essentially a minute of your life wasted when you could have done something that could have took 15 seconds if they'd have added it, the checkpoints were brilliant. I am incredibly strict on games checkpoints, because I think there's no forgiving a game that punishes a player in the run back. I think it's completely uncalled for, and as far as, the Q&A testing, as far as the game development goes, I think devs should be doing everything they can to put the game back in the hands of the player, so if they are making mistakes and they are being punished for it, they don't have to be punished after their punishment. because nobody likes waiting, and I appreciate that what's happening is an epic and amazing, and the game has to load, but at the same time, they need to do everything they can so that I get back in the game fast. Because if I can get back in fast, it doesn't matter if I made a mistake, it doesn't matter if I play terrible. I'm not blaming the game or getting angry because it won't let me try again. I'm already there, I've already forgiven it, I'm already practicing again. And in that time period, people can put games down and never go back to them. And if you can perfect that and get the player back in control, back playing, they have no time to think, I could be doing something better, this is bullshit, I'm waiting too long, I don't want to wait, I want to play. And I don't know why that it's not as high a priority as possible, and it's probably just the politics of getting these games to run as well as they do that I know nothing of and I'm completely ignorant of. But this is the final phase of the fight. And I think you'll agree, the music is amazing. The dynamic music in this game is second only to Metal Gear Rising, and the only reason Metal Gear Rising has the edge on it is because it's full of those kind of corny metalcore songs that are just too catchy not to adore. This, however, much more classical composition, so good, so hype building, so just uplifting and awesome, it makes you feel powerful. And I'm actually using the Kefka for this fight, which is the bow, and this is a very interesting weapon. But this fight really confuses me the third phase. Did you notice how on the first two phases I could get really close to the boss to deal damage? On this phase, by the time I cover distance to get to him, witch time has worn off and he's attacking again. So I couldn't really understand what I'm meant to do quick damage to this boss, aside from the Infinite Climax and Tetsuzanko exploit that I've stumbled upon, which no doubt people are going to be using a lot. And you might be wondering what that is. Well, it's quite simple, guys. You get unlimited magic when you activate Infinite Climax, so if you then input Tetsuzanko, you take about a quarter off of anything you hit with its life, and it can hit multiple things. So if you just chain spam it 3 to 4 times, it's significantly more damaging than anything you can do in Infinite Climax mode. It's pretty much the most powerful thing I've found so far, and you'll notice I'm not doing it because I actually enjoy to play the game and that is insane. But once again, Infinite Climax rearing its head in a perhaps negative way for me personally. But once again, I'm going to talk about that in depth, and it is in no way a mark against this game because I think this game is fantastic. But thank you very much for watching. It's not a 10 out of 10. You take care now.